Hello babies and welcome back to my channel. I'm David, you're David, we're all David, and welcome to Dismantling Hate, the series where we look at some hateful online rhetoric. And today we are going to be looking at a YouTube creator called Misha Petrov. And the video that they published that we're going to be reacting to is called Your Favorite Franchises Gone Woke. Fans speak out. Now, if you've spent any amount of time on my channel, you know that I think woke is a red herring that is used to excuse some sort of discrimination, because it's my opinion that you can't use woke in a derogatory way without trying to excuse something that's really harmful. Woke just means you're aware of how your behavior affects others, and if that's what these people think is bad, then I'm bad. Cause then I'm bad, really bad. Me when I'm bad, mind if I'm bad. So that's what we're going to look at today. If you like the sound of my voice, consider subscribing to the channel, leave a like if you like, and let me know what you think down there in the comments. Do you think your favorite franchise is going woke is hurting you personally? Because if it does, I think you need a hobby. Before we get started, please don't leave any hate comments on these creators' profiles that I feature in any of my videos. I do not want you to participate in the culture of hate that we are trying to so diligently dismantle, not only on this channel, but around the world. So I'm gonna slide on over so we can figure out why our favorite franchises going woke is a bad thing. We're gonna do it together, so we'll be okay. Let's get started.
They added top surgery scars and binders into the game.
Black people can't marry white people.
So sad!
Fixed Genshin Impact characters by making them black.
Black and brown represent the queer and trans people.
Bunch of angry old white men. A non-white, non-straight girl.
I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
Not her, I'm a day. Hey guys, it's Misha, and welcome back to my channel.
Even before we get started, I'm so excited to see Jinx Monsoon and Nina West. Come on, drag excellence.
Today I'm going to be reading your responses. I asked you all to tell me some different shows, different movies.
Oh, so this is from her hateful audience. So this isn't even her. This is from her audience who follows her. Okay. Come on, Pinterest leaves in the back. I live.
And celebrities where you saw a political shift. Perhaps you were part of a fandom where you saw a lot of woke ideology being pushed. I'm going to be reading those responses today, but before we start, please make sure you are subscribed and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Australian TV is making a shift, particularly kids TV. Okay, we're going to look up some of these. I've got my popcorn. Let's watch.
What are you doing? That's not music. It's a cry for help.
That is up. That's definitely they, them.
Bandcamp is the first place where I feel like I've met people like me.
Can't.
Isn't a problem. It's an option. You said it's a stuff.
What are they wearing? Is this like one big GSA club or something?
I'm sorry, did I miss something? No, I haven't scrubbed forward in the video without noticing it. I don't really, like, I did, I have whiplash here of what's going on. Do you understand what's going on? Anyway.
Turn up the volume.
Heartbreak High, I started to watch it because I heard that they have an autistic character. I'm autistic, and I thought it would be cool to check it out. I first started watching it when I was woke and loved it. Now season 2 has come out and I'm not woke anymore and it makes my brain bleed. Okay, let's look it up. Heartbreak High being peak comedy. Let's watch.
Do you want something gay to wear? Yes, please.
There's a man outside exposing himself. I saw his name.
Oh, really?
Isn't everything?
Huge.
Are they supposed to be high schoolers? What is going on?
And twins.
It's me. What? Maybe not.
This is peak comedy. Velma, that's another example of where they take high school students and they sexualize everything. Okay, and they have them like half naked in the shower, in the locker.
So, okay, so I've seen a lot of this kind of content where there's these anti-woke right-wing people react to things. This is moving at such a fast pace that I don't even understand what's going on. And she's throwing in all these red herrings to keep people interested in what she's saying, but I can't even gain footing on being interested here before we're moving on to the next thing. But that's usually what it comes down to, because people that participate in this anti-woke right-wing, I clean my guns with liberal tears kind of rhetoric, is that their attention spans are usually very short because they don't have critical thinking skills or discernment. What's wrong with representation in film, and what's wrong with representation in media? Like a they them character, I don't know, these people really hate they them. These people really hate like he, she, we, they, them, vegan, vegetarian, non-binary folks, and that is me. I am a non-binary person. My name is David Day. Come on now, you're paying attention. We'll do, yeah, it's the context.
You exist in the context.
Okay, let's...
And finally, this sort of thing is getting backlash. We could see that with things like Euphoria. People are actually speaking out against this. And for the longest time, no one had a problem with it as long as they made the characters queer. Because then for some reason it's totally fine for people to write these characters who are minors and put them in these sexual situations. No. it doesn't make it fine. I'm an Olivia Rodrigo fan.
Like, okay. So yes, there is a whole conversation here to be had about the ethics of child actors, because putting them in positions that aren't appropriate is something that definitely needs to be monitored, so the mental health of those child actors is prioritized, because it can be quite traumatizing to be a child actor and to be put into these adult situations. But I do believe that there is a way to do that ethically, and ultimately, just because a child is in a film, in a movie that has inappropriate themes, like we see this all the time. Like there's children in horror movies. Like, come on. We only have a problem when it comes to queer situations, which is discriminatory, and it doesn't make sense. Like, why aren't we attacking the children in horror movies? Why aren't we attacking the inclusion of children in horror movies? Like, a movie set is not the same thing as what you see as a final product on the screen. It's not the same thing. And people can be, and child actors can be treated in developmentally appropriate ways when they are engaging and acting in content that isn't necessarily appropriate for even them to watch. There are ways to do that.
And going to her concert in the week, but her recent act of giving out abortion pills at her concert to young fans is rather concerning. Should I separate the art and the artist or not? Why is she giving out abortion pills? Because I know her audience, her fans, a lot of them are just much younger, like young teenage girls, right? What kind of message is that sending? And as for separating the art from the artist, I think at least then the fans who disagree with her, they should make that known, but that's kind of creepy.
Reportedly no longer allowing abortion funds to hand out contraceptives on her Guts World Tour. Pills and condoms being given out at Rodrigo's show in St. Louis by the Missouri Abortion Fund.
Oh no.
Oh, so a company was there doing it. It was like a promotion for a company that was there at her concerts. It wasn't her like whipping them out like Trump throwing paper towels at people during a natural disaster. It's not like she was standing on stage tossing the morning after pill or like Plan B at her audience. That's just not. And these people love to frame this kind of information with the least amount of context possible, so your imagination takes over. And our human brains usually, when it comes to imagination, thinks of the most outlandish possibilities. So it works in their favor to describe the least amount of information, so then you can fill in the blanks and make it seem like some crazy thing when it just ultimately is not. Like, we really need like a bingo sheet when it comes to people like this, because they think that terminating a pregnancy is murder, and that everybody's woke, and that drag queens shouldn't be in anywhere, and like it's all God, like I know I already said these people lack discernment skills and critical thinking skills, but it's wild how all of the values seemingly line up with everybody else that's in this community. And I guess the same could be said for like the woke liberal. I don't really assign myself to this idea of being a woke liberal. I'm just aware about how my behavior affects others, and I think inclusion is important and representation matters, but there are things that I disagree from within the queer community and from outside the queer community. And if you've watched any of my content before, you know that sometimes I watch some anti-woke, like queer rhetoric, and that queer theory is a doctrine of a sex-based cult. Not specifically that video. That video was a disaster through and through. But sometimes there are small details that I do agree with these hateful creators on. Like, I have critical thinking skills. I'm actually able to listen and not act from emotion, because when emotion is high, intelligence is low. And these people specifically provide information to make others emotional, so their intelligence is lower. Because as soon as you start raising intelligence, a lot of these arguments are just right out the door.
How will people get their contraceptives if Olivia Rodrigo is not allowed to hand them out?
Well, have we seen the state of the United States? It's a fair question to be asking, but I neither have a uterus nor live in the United States, so we're gonna move on.
I'm just expecting Mickey Mouse to break up with Minnie because he realizes he's in love with Goofy. The Sims 4.
You know what? I love that. I hope that happens. I really hope that happens. But then we're assigning gender to these fictional characters, and I guess Mickey Mouse is a man and that Minnie Mouse is a woman, but do they have to be? Couldn't they be non-binary icons, non-binary queens? Yes, come on, non-binary mouse. Again, another good band name. Write it down. Somebody needs to take this. Somebody needs to take these ideas. I can't start all these bands.
The Sims were already fairly liberal. Within the last 5 years or so, it's gotten out of hand. They added top surgery scars and binders into the game, which makes
Okay, before we get into the trans thing, something that I just thought about too is if we're criticizing media and video games and movies and TV shows and music artists, a lot of these people are inherently liberal. And a lot of these liberal ideas that these people are criticizing, like, but doesn't it make sense? Because all of these fields are creative things, and a lot of creative people have a lot of these liberal ideas. And I don't know necessarily the reason or why that's a thing. I'd be interested to look into that, but it's because the conservatives aren't creating anything other than like hateful online rhetoric that provides content for me to react to here on my channel. So I do appreciate it, but I also am sickened by it.
Since you can literally make your sim a boy. They added pronouns and customizable pronouns, as well as masculine sims with feminine physique or feminine sims with masculine physique. You know, why should...
But like, what's the problem with this? Like that little clip, okay, let's go back. But like, okay, looking at this visual here, people like this exist out in the real world. Like this looks like my friend group. God, no, this, yeah, you anti-woke conservatives will love that statement. Yeah, this just looks like my friend group that I'm gonna go see tomorrow night when I go out. Anyway, but like, what's the problem with having people like this exist in a fake world like The Sims when art should read, holy, I'm not very buttoned up. Okay, let me fix that because modesty is important. Somebody get me girl defined here. Anyway, people like this exist out in the world. So why does representation hurt you so personally? It's because they don't have critical thinking skills or discernment or a personality, I'm afraid. Ooh, I said it.
You know, why should it stop there? Why should it stop at mental disorders like gender
Please say that they should have people identifying as cats. Please say it. Please say it. Please say it.
And things like that. We should do physical issues as well, or else you're not diverse enough and will be labeled a bigoted game, of course. Because if you have any problem...
So she's talking about physical things, so like maybe somebody that is in a wheelchair? I don't think that's a bad idea. I'm actually kind of surprised that's not a thing already. Interesting. Boycott Sims. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. Because this channel is not only educational, it is comedic. Anyway.
Need to have that represented. But the question I have is why? Can't you just play the game? I'm a big fan of a game called Genshin Impact. The game in itself doesn't have that much wokeness, but the fans only care about assigning characters asexuality and making couples between the characters. It doesn't stop there. If someone disagrees with a ship or prefers straight couples, they just call them homophobic or try to say how it's basically canon that a character is LGBT because it's implied. In short, if their delusion says it's true, then it's true. Not to mention how they feel entitled to change races of the characters and attack the voice actors if they don't comply to the woke mob, aka don't support Palestine. What does Palestine have anything to do with this? Why does everything have to be politicized? Why? It's like going to these singers and actors and saying you have to talk about this political issue. They're there to sing.
Well, they're like, yes, I understand that they're there to sing, but they also have audiences and platforms that should be used for things that are important in our world as human beings on planet Earth. So I can understand what she's saying, but also it is the world, it is the way that our world is constructed. If you have a platform, you should be using it for good things beyond just singing well. That's my opinion. Because apart, like, I think about me and me creating this platform here. Yes, I do want to have a platform so I can sing and dance and do drag and like do all these creative things, but I'm also looking to make a bigger, meaningful difference in our world. And I know that's not what everybody wants when they're creating a platform like this, but it's just something that's a personal priority of mine, and that's not consistent with everybody else. But yeah.
I'm gonna look this up as well.
And also she said, why are we politicizing everything? Like, is that not the whole point of your video, is politicizing all of these issues? And Olivia Rodrigo from the example earlier, we're like 11 examples in and it's only been 4 minutes. And that Olivia Rodrigo example from before, wasn't that being political? Wasn't that speaking up over an issue? And you're criticizing her for doing that as well. It's because a lot of these conservative people don't like the liberal ideas that usually come out of pop culture people, of anything creative in general, because it doesn't align with their hateful agenda.
And learn from the fans of this game. Let's hear from this guy. He says, these Twitter artists fix Genshin Impact characters by making them black, but like, who asked?
People who just see an image they don't like and claim it doesn't fit with how they see the world through a morally accurate scope where representation is the only thing that matters when it comes to art, or even just creating characters and OCs. And since clearly they have nothing else to do with their time, they just take matters into their own hands and just fix any drawing that doesn't scream woke or isn't black enough. Looky here, we fixed your character and made them better by darkening the skin so you don't have to.
Okay, so they fixed the characters. So they were broken. It wasn't right to have a white character. I think most anime characters, they're almost always white, but they take, again, here's the actual problem, is that they take the existing characters and they fix them and they make them black. Okay, this person...
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily the language of like fixing somebody by changing their skin color. I think that's definitely problematic in itself, but who is that hurting? Why is that hurting you in particular? It's not hurting you because it's not hurting you because it's like some deep emotional thing that really matters to you. It's hurting you because you're just anti-woke and anti-everything. I don't know. Like they're anti-representation, they're anti-inclusion. This video is ridiculous.
40K and Warhammer Fantasy franchises, again, I don't play video games. I think it's a video game, right? But let's look into it. Female members. Okay, so I'm guessing that this like group of characters were all male. But now they're saying, no, there were actually always women there. Loyal fans to your game. They've been supporting it. They've been buying it, whatever. And you're just going to say, well, actually, you guys are all dumb because this has always been the case. And if you don't like it, the complete switch up, the complete lie, you're sexist. They treat their fans like idiots. I'm a mom of 3 girls. One of them I'm adopting in a month. And as a mom, I feel sad that I can't show my girls certain shows I grew up with for the sake of protecting them from wokeness.
Protecting them from wokeness is such a wild thing to say. That really blows my mind.
I remember being 4 and 5 watching Blue's Clues, and I would love to share that nostalgia with my 1-year-old, but unfortunately, Blue's Clues is not age appropriate or tame like it was for me growing up. There's also Steven Universe.
If you want to talk about things that are made for children being appropriate, like, I don't know, I'm 27, so if you're anywhere in that age range, and hell, even if you're even older, a lot of the things that we watched as kids traumatized us. Like, the things that my friends were watching and showing me in the hallways of a Catholic middle school were so much worse than what these people think is wokeness. And how are you protecting a 1-year-old from wokeness? It's not like a 1-year-old's going to be looking at a TV screen where there's a trans character and then like suddenly be able to talk and just go, I'm a boy now. And like, no, that's not how that works. That voice crack really helped to solidify my characterization there. It's just not how identity works. It's not how identity works.
To when I was 18 and I didn't mind the lesbian stuff, but now looking back on the show, I draw the line at the non-binary representation where they have a non-binary character too.
This is my page. I love posing for selfies. But social media can be about more than how you look. It can be about who you are.
That's why all of like the Starbucks baristas, they love Steven Universe. Here's an ad, by the way.
Oh my god, the sweeping generalization that all Starbucks baristas have blue hair and use they them pronouns. It's so funny. If you have blue hair and you're not a Starbucks barista who is non-binary, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I know you exist. I know you're out there. We just need to find you and uplift your voice.
A Steven Universe character.
3! Hey, when we're older, let's get married. Ha! You can't get married. Why not? Black people can't marry white people.
Hey now.
It's Scarlet from Steven Universe.
Kids.
But what's the problem with this? Like, as somebody who has experience being an elementary teacher, these kinds of conversations do take place on the playground. And I remember being a teacher, hearing some of those conversations where racism, transphobia, homophobia were taking place. And your job, I've mentioned this before in my teacher videos, go watch those if you're interested in my educational take on that. I also have some podcast episodes relating to education specifically. And I'm also a master's student of education with a specialization in neuroscience. So I'm not coming at this from an uninformed place. Your job as an educator is to create an environment where everybody feels safe, because if you don't feel safe, you can't learn. And if your students aren't learning, you're not doing your job as a teacher. So you have to make sure that there are no lingering discriminatory ideologies amongst your students in order to create that environment where everybody feels safe. And hell, like, I know this is like a controversial take, like learning is important, but being safe at school is more important than learning. That's just my opinion, but things like this isn't harmful. This is actually teaching good things to the people who are watching it. And maybe this girl should be watching these instead of the children, because it looks like she needs some wokeness. I hate the word woke. Yeah. Anyway.
Don't be racist.
Cut. Okay, people, we just need to get coverage. We'll start again in 5.
Why is she laughing at the idea of not being racist? Is she racist? Why is that comedic? I don't get it.
This is the cheesiest job I've ever done.
Like, based on how young they look, I'm thinking back to that age. Boys did not think about dating, like, at all. I know.
Okay, well, I don't know what Catholic, Catholicism, Mormonism school you went to where kids were forced to not think about that kind of stuff. But yeah, I had a girlfriend. I know, picture it, me. I had a girlfriend when I was in grade 5, and we never even talked to each other. It was like, can you ask her if she would be my girlfriend? And then we were boyfriend and girlfriend for like 48 hours, and then we broke up, and it was this big dramatic thing. That was grade 5. I was like 9, 10 years old. Like, it's just that happens. That happens in regular society. Unfortunately, I don't think it's something that should be really focused on, because ultimately when it comes to dating, I don't think you're really ready to date until you're 30. No, but like 18, really late teens is when you can start to think about dating, in my opinion, because you really got to be solid and good on yourself before you can extend your love and care to another human being that is auxiliary, like not a family member. You know what I mean? Somebody that you choose. Anyway, but she is serving religious fundamentalism just with her background and her hairstyle. I don't know, that's judgmental. And I don't usually talk about people's physical appearance, but that's what it's giving.
Here it's two boys, but when it was like a girl and a boy, they'd be like, ew, the girls have cooties, ew, don't go next to the girls, right? But for some reason, when you make them gay, they're thinking about marriage. Things are getting serious already.
Stuff like this doesn't actually happen in real life. Whoa there. Are you kidding?
Whoa.
It totally does.
Just because this has never happened to you doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Tell me why the child's cartoon is giving more than this original creator is.
I'm sorry. Seriously, I didn't know.
You have to acknowledge racism to work against it. You kids better work on this before the wedding.
Whoa, that's just a script. We only just met today.
Why is she winking? Why is Pomegranate from Steven Universe so excited about these 10-year-olds getting married? Is that her job? Does she just go around grooming kids at the playground? Why is she...
No, how very dare you use that word? That perpetuates lies and stereotypes against teachers. And like, I've talked about this before. Is it possible for teachers to have nefarious intentions when it comes to students? Yes, it is. But that has nothing to do with their queerness or wokeness. It's just bad people. Bad people exist out there in the world. And there is no archetype for bad people. They come in every shape, size, form, color, ideology, political affiliation. It's just, yeah, it shows a real lack of immaturity when you can't separate a bad person from the communities that they also belong to.
You gonna try and groom me next? Or are you gonna try to groom that 15-year-old boy over there that you came here to meet?
Pride, everybody! The pride flag!
Yay, Nina West. We love Nina West on this channel. Let's see what they're gonna say.
Transgender people and black and brown represent the queer and trans people of color.
Is this comment people make? It's like, you're not a kid, you're not watching this, why do you care? It's for kids. That's the point. Are you that narcissistic that you can't recognize that just because you're not the target audience, you're not being directly affected, that it still matters? That
How is that narcissistic?
our 3-year-olds who are going to be watching that? If when eventually they're going to be ads showing, oh yeah, you like flannel? Well, it's time to chop off your body parts. Are you going to say...
No, that's not a thing. And that kind of extremism only comes from right-wing people like this. That doesn't come from the queer community. And a 3-year-old watching Nina West isn't going to start thinking they're queer. They're going to think that Nina West is just participating in dress up, which is really what drag is. And kids love dress up. And also like the brain development when it comes to puppetry and bright colors and movement and singing and vocals and like all of that is good for the development of a growing brain. So there's literally no problem with Nina West and her kids shows. Like, it's just get a life.
It's not meant for me. It doesn't matter. Why do you care? How do you not care? I'm a Tolkien fan. I resent what Amazon did with their Rings of Power series. The Lord of the Rings franchise was particularly heartbreaking with the Rings of Power. When the trailer came out, we all saw that it was going to be horrible. Casting DEI requirements resulted in black elves and black dwarves.
DEI, I believe, means diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hope I don't need to explain why mythological creatures inspired by Nordic medieval European folklore aren't supposed to be black. By the way, not even black people.
What is that? Elves shouldn't be black. Like, who cares? It's a mythical, made-up creature. Who cares what the color of their skin is? It doesn't matter to me. Does it matter to you? Maybe that's narcissistic of me to say by her judgment that it doesn't matter to me, but honestly.
Watch the hilarious intro of the video Black Elves Dwarves in Lord of the Rings by Fatal J.
What is this? Look at my dude. They making them elves now? He got a fade like me. And look at her. Look like something straight out of an Egyptian show. Y'all got Tolkien doing base jumping inside his grave.
I'm glad that there are black fans who are speaking up against this as well, because it's so...
Like, if it's a made-up character, it makes no less sense that there's a black elf as there is a white elf. Like, does it actually matter? Does it actually matter when all this is fake and just made for entertainment purposes? I think they're reading too far into it.
Lazy to do this? You can...
And also I think it is also a little bit racist to say that these black actors were hired only because of diversity, equity, and inclusion standards. Because what if at the auditions, these black actors were just better? What if they were just the best candidates at the audition? You're reducing these people down to a skin color, saying that they were only hired because of their skin color. And that's racist. That's racist.
Original characters, you can create new stories and have black characters. You can have Asian characters. You can have whatever race characters. But if you have an existing character, Why race swap them? They're already established. People know them as a certain gender, a certain race, a certain age. Dwarves would be white because they live underground, so there would not be melanin in their skin. Elves were described as fair-skinned. All they had to do was show some Easterlings as black, tan, etc. There are 2 blue wizards that are barely mentioned in the books, so they could have been a different race, other than white, and it would fit just fine. Unless it's a character like in Velma.
It's like reading so far into it where you're like, yeah, they would live underground, so their skin could be like, okay, but if we're gonna start poking holes in movies and film like this, like we need to start paying attention to everything, because once you see, if you're in the film industry, you're able to recognize, or if you're just a creative, if you're just a creator in any way, there are so many holes in the content that we watch that the regular, normal, run-of-the-mill viewer doesn't notice, because that's not what they're there for. They're there to passively enjoy something. But if you're like 1 inch from the screen critically looking at everything and like, oh, the hair was different here, oh, the lighting's different here, oh, they're saying they're in Dubai but they're actually in a desert in California, like, oh, there's always so many problems. The jump cuts, the costuming, like, there are so many problems. There are so many inconsistencies when it comes to film and television. So if you're attacking one thing just because it serves your anti-woke ideology when it comes to skin color, it's just giving immature.
They're portraying them as stupid, sexist, all that. So they had that one white character in Velma, and he was a cis straight white man, and he was just so dumb. He didn't know how to do anything because he was so privileged. It's like, then it's okay for them to be white. Grey's Anatomy has always been political, but at least in the first seasons, they at least gave the other side space for debate. Not anymore.
Get a CT angio to determine the location of her vascular injuries.
There.
Excuse me?
There. Injury. Not her. I'm a they.
I especially feel bad for them.
I'm a non-binary person, and I've never said I'm a they. I would say my pronouns are they, them, and I'm non-binary. But this is what? Again, a TV show.
Doctors that have to put up with this. You went to medical school, you put in all that work, spent so much money, and now you have to go against biological facts and pretend that you're talking to a they. A they.
I'm genderqueer. Non-binary. Got it. Thank you for letting us know your pronouns.
Their preferred pronouns are they and them.
Okay, yes. Well, all right then.
Let's get a psych evaluation as well while we're at it, because maybe
Gross.
this person hit their head. A lot of people mentioned Doctor Who.
Yes, Doctor Who has Jinx Monsoon. Jinx Monsoon gave such an incredible performance. Oh, I've only seen clips of it because I don't watch Doctor Who. Doctor Who? Yeah, Doctor Who. That sounded weird for a second. I don't watch Doctor Who, so I've only seen the clips of quite literally just Jinx Monsoon acting, but oh my god, they did a good job. You see how my use of inclusive language by using they, them to describe Jinx Monsoon was super easy to do, because language can be easily modified because it is a social construct that represents things that we as human beings assign meaning to. Ooh, what was that? Yeah.
I'm extremely disappointed with. Forced transgender character, dumps pronoun debates, Black Isaac Newton, was he not white? The list could go on and on. Or in Doctor Who used to be a fun show to teach viewers about history and science, the thrill of adventures, and how you can do anything you put your mind to. Now you just get lectures on...
You can do anything you put your mind to except be non-binary. It's just so stupid.
Change and respect.
These people are so close to self-awareness, but they are just... Yeah, they are just, yeah. I don't know. I have brain rot from this.
Fictional aliens' pronouns? Legit so upsetting how wokeness has ruined my favorite show and my childhood obsession.
But like, okay, if the aliens are fictional and you think pronouns are fictional, then wouldn't it make sense that the fictional characters have fictional things to refer to themselves? Like, it's easier for you to conceptualize aliens than it is to conceptualize somebody that uses they, them pronouns. Get a grip.
This preview, meet Maestro, the Devil's Core, Doctor Who.
My notation is Maestro. But what are you? I am music. But it's so sad, Timothy.
So Maestro is an otherworldly, timeless, godlike, demon-like being. Defies the laws of normal human reality and physics, defies the laws of gender.
This is a trans character. I guess Pennywise is now trans. Okay.
God. Okay, that's kind of funny. I feel like Jinx might laugh at that as well. What does it matter? It literally doesn't matter. Get a life.
It is mine!
Because the ratings are so low, this new doctor, he's blaming everyone for being racist. or homophobic or both, I guess. This is more of a dodge to the bullet sort of thing, but I'm glad Gravity Falls was made when it was because the creator tried putting LGBT whatever in the show. And at the time,
LGBT whatever. That's now my new identity. I identify as LGBT whatever.
Disney wouldn't allow it, and it remains one of my favorites. So thankful it was made back before Disney started allowing all that in their movies and shows, because just imagine the train wreck they'd make it today. Right, I think they did put the two cops kiss. They were both men. There's no like pronouns or transgender or anything, but if it was made now, it would definitely be different.
There's a lot of grammatical issues in the way that she's talking, and somebody who would definitely harp on the grammatical issues of using they, them in a sentence to refer to a singular human being. It just shows that they only care about grammatical correctness when it serves their anti-woke ideologies, which is the whole point of this whole video.
Used to be a fan of the Supergirl show right at the beginning, but I guess shouldn't be surprised where it headed. Let's look up Supergirl. Never heard of it.
One where you said I was the walking personification of white male privilege.
On my planet, females bow before males.
This is not your planet. I'm not Superman's cousin. I'm Supergirl.
He's not strong enough.
Why? Because she's just a girl?
Oh, Supergirl was also canceled. I wonder why.
I want to work for a cool, powerful, kick-ass woman instead of a bunch of angry old white men.
Oh, same though, honestly.
White, non-straight girl in Blue Springs, Nebraska. Our alien neighbors, they're no different. Most of them are hardworking immigrants or refugees just trying to get by. And they have to hide who they are in order to survive.
I can sympathize with that.
A comment says, on my planet, females bow before males. You expect me to believe that a human being wrote that? I am not Superman's cousin. I'm Supergirl. Yeah, Supergirl is Superman's cousin. Society supports at least.
Well, the whole point of that comment is you're referring to somebody in their relation to a man. What's that called? The Bechdel test? I think that's called the Bechdel test. And a scene or a movie or any piece of media only passes the Bechdel test if there is no men in the scene and the women in the scene are not referring to or about a man in any context. And almost nothing passes the Bechdel test because everything in our society, unfortunately, is extremely male-centered. And that's a problem. Like, women can exist on their own. And that's a problem. That's misogynistic.
And it makes fun of short men. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter because they're a man. So they're not where you want them to be on the oppression chart. So we can get away with that. Again, in my planet, females bow before males. I got to actually meet a dude from the 21st century that unironically says this. Where do these people live? Where do they encounter such men? Because I'm sorry if that's been your experience, but most men, I feel like, in America in 2024 aren't going around saying things like that. All right,
They might not be saying it, but there is a fundamental way that that kind of ideology is imprinted into the fabric of our daily lives and the structures of which we are oppressed under. God, but I'm just another woke lefty who's crying oppression. It's just, but like the race issue and the LGBT issue here is like, of course, this little white girl doesn't have anything meaningful to say when it comes to identifying and really internalizing the effects of systemic oppression when it comes to racism or homophobia or transphobia, because she's just some straight little white girl. And I know that I'm playing into exactly what she's arguing against, but that's just the fact of the matter. Like, of course, racism doesn't really mean anything to her because she's never experienced it, in the same way that it means nothing to me because I've never experienced it. But like the cartoon, the literal children's cartoon said in the beginning of this that maybe she should go back and watch, is that if something is not happening to you, it doesn't mean it's not happening. And that is the narcissism, that thinking that because something doesn't happen to you means that it doesn't exist. And this girl is speaking from a very privileged place. Like, she's very, very young, it would seem. I don't know if it's just a skin filter. And like, I'm young too, but like, Mary's, I've been through it. Like, can you see this gray hair? Don't look so closely. It was the elementary teaching that did that for me. Like, I have almost 7 years of post-secondary education, one of which is at a master's level with a specialization in neuroscience. And like, I have an incredible amount of life experience that leads me to this and creating my YouTube content. I'm not just some little girl. I know I'm reducing her to that here in this context, and I don't have a meaningful understanding of what she's been through and where she's come from. So maybe I would eat my words if I understood more about her, but it's not what she's serving. She's not giving actual nuanced takes. It's just this rapid fire of like, woke, 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 woke. Like, that's only interesting to discriminatory people, but that's who she's pandering to, so it makes sense. In the same way that I'm pandering to woke folks out there. Hi woke sister. Sorry, hi woke themster. Yeah, I want to be inclusive. I want to be inclusive to you blue-haired baristas out there from Seattle.
The Umbrella Academy, and it was one of my favorite TV shows. I still love the first 2 seasons. But when I tell you that they destroyed this last season, I mean they destroyed it. One of the main characters, Vanya, oh, that's my dog's name, suddenly turns trans and changes her name to Victor, even though Vanya is a male name in Russia. I don't know. And there's literally no context behind it. What? Both are male names? So to go from Vanya to Victor is so
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, it's wild that people are trans and like there is no male or female names. Like that's gross. Get that out of here. That's a societal construct. And yes, there are ways in which that shows up in the world. Like, of course, people would look twice at you if I said that my name was Jessica, but ultimately, like, don't assign names. Don't assign gender to names. Don't assign gender to colors. Don't assign gender to emotions. Don't assign gender to genitals. Like, it's just, what does that do for you other than uphold systems of oppression that are serving you? And only you in your community of people who look, sound, act, and enjoy the same privilege as you.
But here, Victor's transition, the Umbrella Academy.
Oh.
Love the haircut.
Yeah, well, somebody had to do something.
Who elected you, Vanya?
It's, Victor.
Who's Victor?
That's Elliot Page there, an actual trans person in real life.
I am. It's who I've always been.
What? No, you were Vanya.
Is that an issue for anyone?
No, I'm good with it. Yeah, me too. Cool.
Well, I guess we can't really say anything because if we did have an issue, we'd be transphobic. But what do you...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's almost getting it. She's so close. She's so close. God, somebody get her some wokeness, diversity, inclusion, and equity training. I've been to diversity, equity, and inclusion conferences and things like that before, probably because they just saw me as a queer person and they were like, yeah, let's get David in here. But I loved it. I soaked it in because I think it's important. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm kind of losing it. We got 3 minutes left. Let's do this.
You were always Victor. Like you turned into Victor 2 seconds ago.
Because you are who you are on the inside, pretty much into eternity, but your outside expression of who you are can change. People can be more, people can have diverse expressions as well. Like, how do we not? It's giving uneducated, but we knew that.
But you weren't always Victor. Can we at least acknowledge?
You were a woman and now you're a man. My pronouns are Glock and 97. I just almost guarantee that this girl lives in like Utah. I bet she lives in Utah. It's not a Mormon joke. Okay, it's a Mormon joke.
Okay. Yeah, you were always Victor. Love that for you. So brave. I love How to Train Your Dragon to death. I don't care how childish that sounds. But I've heard they're planning a live-action remake and they're casting Astrid, a Scandinavian Viking, as a black woman. When did it become normal to cast actors who look nothing like the characters? I love this franchise.
Because everything is made up and fictional stories are just exactly that, fictional stories. So what does it matter what the characters look like? It just...
So sad to see what they're doing to it. I found this video on YouTube. They did it again, live action How to Train Your Dragon race swaps Astrid.
These companies are basically saying that you can only relate to a particular character just solely off of the way they look, which in turn is incredibly racist in my honest opinion.
Okay, I don't necessarily completely disagree with that, but also, yeah, that's a really interesting take. I don't know if I necessarily disagree because you are then inherently reducing that character or that actor down to their skin color and saying that the only way that you can relate to somebody is through their skin color or their gender identity. I think that's interesting. Thank God there's something in here that isn't completely problematic. Okay. Oh, let's take a deep breath after that, right? Thank God.
You can relate to a character without looking exactly like them. If you related to Sebastian the crab from The Little Mermaid, is it because you're a crab? Is it because you look like a crab?
It's an anthropomorphized. It's an anthropomorphized. Fuck me. I can't. But like, it's also a human representation of a crab. Like, it's not a crab as you would go out in the. It's not a crab as if you would go out in the ocean and find that same crab. Like, Sebastian speaks English. It's
probably not, right?
And I just find the concept of the race swap incredibly lazy.
Is that the race swap that they're sharing? Those people look pretty similar. Okay.
It's also very much done on purpose. This is coming from somebody that they're trying to pander to. And I'm trying to tell you guys that I don't want this.
But if you don't want it, that doesn't mean that other people don't want it. And if you don't identify with that, that doesn't mean that other people don't identify with that. And that's kind of the narcissism, right? And I don't know if the inclusion of black actors playing white characters is necessarily something that's meant to pander to black people. I mean, it might be, because ultimately, if you have more inclusion, you will get the money of those people in those communities who want to see representation. It's kind of like the corporatization of pride. Like, some of it can be nefarious in order to get people's money, and we have to recognize that, but that's not always the case. like I said before, what if that black actress was just the best at the audition and they were like, all right, you're the best and skin color doesn't really matter, so we'll just cast you. Like, it could have been that simple.
Star Wars, there's also some like new series from Star Wars, The Acolyte.
Cried through the entire movie. There was just something about the relationship between the sisters, the concept of true love being between two sisters and not a heterosexual relationship. Like, it just destroyed me completely. And I thought, gosh, you know, I would love to make something like this, something that like my parents would have allowed me to see when I was younger as a queer person.
Gotcha.
But I would have been able to understand as a queer person, and I think I would have had a completely different life.
There were two different kinds of love, all right? So there was true love, yes, the sisters loved each other. And there was true love, Anna and, oh my god, I almost said Olaf, not Olaf. And now Sven, why can't I remember this guy's name? It's killing me, wait. Kristoff. Okay, Kristoff, yes. So she marries Kristoff. That's a heterosexual relationship. As a queer person, you watch Frozen and you could finally understand it. Why? What does you being queer and the sisters have anything to do with each other? Girl, Star Wars.
Did I miss the part where we were talking about Frozen? I don't know. We're almost done. Yeah.
The Jedi world order?
Permeate that patriarchy, that power structure. And is that a part of the calculation of your art as well? And what's been the reaction to that?
Oh, absolutely. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
If the roles were reversed, there would be a whole harassment investigation.
Okay, so like, yes, if the roles were reversed, like if a man said that he loved making women uncomfortable, but also if we look at the systemic problems of the way that women and femininity have been treated and discriminated against for pretty much the entire existence of the human race, like, no, it is not the same thing. It's not a double standard, because women have been made uncomfortable by the systemic oppression that is built into the fabric of our everyday lives. So it's not the same thing. If you were to take it without any of the context and flip it the other way, yes, that would be a double standard. But understanding the context, you understand the context
of all in which you live and what came before you.
If you understand the context, that's not a double standard. And that comes through what? Education, aging, experience, all of which I don't think this creator has.
Mean? What do you mean you like making women uncomfortable? Her liking to make men uncomfortable? That's fine. Ah, funny. Clap. Clap if you're a feminist. There's also going to be a new game, Assassin's Creed.
I don't clap, I snap, because not only am I a feminist, I'm also in the queer community. I'm a woke, liberal feminist who's losing it.
And they're gonna have a black samurai. Look to find like the one exception, the one black samurai, and they have to make it about him. Asian people are not as high up on the oppression chart, so it's fine. Just talked about this.
She's mentioned the oppression chart a couple of times here. That's interesting. But she's very low down on that oppression chart, so it makes sense that she doesn't really have an understanding of what that actually does to influence the human experience, because it is a huge indicator of how successful or how far or how enjoyable somebody's life will be based off of how much privilege they will receive out in the world, based off of the systemic oppression that exists in our world. God, like, somebody take this little white girl's mic away. And I know that I'm just another white person here saying this, but I'm informed. I've read those books. I've had those experiences. I have those friends. Like, God.
And we were speaking about Shogun or Shogun, and people were upset that there weren't any black samurai. This is newer, look at this. So Disney will no longer hold meet and greets with the beloved fairy. They cited the portrayal of an unrealistic body image as one of their reasons. I'm sorry, what? Tinkerbell is like this small. She's a fairy. Obviously, this is gonna be an unrealistic body image. You're telling me the young girls that are watching Peter Pan...
It's just the cherry picking of the most outlandish articles. And hey, maybe that was written in earnest and that's actually a thing. But also, like, okay, next.
And seeing Tinkerbell, they're going, I hate my body because I'm not 3 inches tall.
You know what, though? I remember watching Tinkerbell fly, and I remember hating myself because I was like, damn it, why can't I fly? I'm so friggin' pissed that I can't fly around like Tinkerbell. And I was really young. That's not a joke or hyperbole. I actually remember thinking, I'm so mad that I can't fly, and looking down at my body being like, oh, you stupid, affected by gravity thing.
Disney princess should be more realistic. They should all have stretch marks. Okay, they should definitely animate some cellulite. They should show us their
just wait until you have stretch marks and cellulite, girl, and then maybe we'll appreciate it. But you're 12.
Hair, or perhaps it doesn't matter all that much if we don't get to see their back acne, because this is fantasy and everything is kind of perfect in the fantasy world. So if someone has beautiful
Yeah, don't participate in the deficit model of what image of a body is perfect or not. There is no perfect body.
hair, it's going to be longer than what we would see realistically, right? If someone's really tall, they'd be really, really tall, where it's like, wow, I don't know anyone that tall in real life. People know because it's fantasy. So I think, as we can tell, everything that becomes woke, it's not as entertaining, but I would love to hear if you have any movies,
It might not be entertaining to you.
TV shows that do.
But ultimately, that's the thing, though, is like, is it less entertaining, or are you blinded by the fact that you think these things are woke? Like, if I think of Jinx Monsoon's performance, for example, like, that was such an incredible performance, and I was so locked in at their characterization of that, whoever character they were playing, and that was excellence to me. It doesn't need to be viewed as like queer excellence or trans excellence or woke excellence. It's just good acting. So like, why can't we look beyond the factors of that? Why can't we look beyond the factors of these characters of like, oh, they're black or they're trans or that? Why can't we just focus on the skills of their acting, which is really what they're there to do? Why are you looking at somebody and judging them based off of the things that they don't have control over? But that's the argument here, is that these people think that being trans is a choice and being gay is a choice. Usually, she hasn't said that here, but I would bet that that's what she thinks. Like, why can't you look beyond all of those things that people don't have control over and just criticize them for the things that they do have control over, like their acting skills, their singing skills, their drawing skills? Like,
this sort of political ideology being pushed, and let me know if you have any good shows or movies that we can watch without being lectured.
Okay, I'm done with her big doe eyes. Well, babies, that about does it here for this episode of Dismantling Hate. Thank you for spending this unbearable time with me. I hope my comedic takes and dazzling personality made it a little bit more watchable for you. If you love the sound of my voice, consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a like if you like. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you anti-woke? Do you agree with this little Mormon girl from Utah? She's not. Of course, that's a judgment that I'm placing on her, and now I'm participating in fallacies. Wow, I'm the problem. Anyway, if you're interested in more from me, you can check out my podcast called D-Talk with David Day. You can listen on Spotify or watch on YouTube. You can become a certified amateur sleuth. Click on my link tree and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I do really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video, and until the next one, goodbye.